Hey LeGrand Alive, this is Coffee with Will, brought to you by Seabright Dentistry. Today we have Don McLean here, who contacted me last week to talk to me a little bit about some conflict that's going on between him and some other families and the Grande High School administrators. And so from what I understand, the Grande High School, both from yourself and from the Grande High School administrators, there's some conflict as to whether or not the students are allowed, your children, because they attend a different school online, are allowed to play sports here in the Grand.
Correct.
So really briefly, tell me just briefly what's going on and where we're at right now.
Well, you know, we have 6 kids. We've been in LeGrand for about 10 years. All of our kids have played sports at LeGrand High School, from football to volleyball to track, cross country. We have had our kids enrolled in LeGrand High School. We have done homeschooling. We've done private school. And now we are doing what's called Baker Webb Academy, which is an online public school.
It's a public school.
Yes, it is. It's public school, and something we were introduced to last year and seemed like a good option for us. We are very concerned about our kids and their education and what is working best for them. So we monitor year by year how they're doing, and we try to tailor things so that they are successful. So, you know, for many years we did homeschooling, and that was working well. In fact, my first 2 older children attended LeGrand High School, so there was no issue with the sports playing at that time. My second 2, they were homeschooled. We had a little hiccup in the road with the LeGrand High School in that I had to go through a few hoops to get them to agree to allow them to play sports based upon a technicality. But once I had said, well, look, if you guys aren't going to block my son from playing sports, and I pay taxes and so forth, as far as I know, it's legal for them to do so under the law. I had contacted state representatives, senators, radio shows, and so forth. By the next morning, I had a call from the athletic director saying, oh, there's been a mistake. Yes, absolutely, your son can play. So we thought, okay, we're past all this. Well, this has sort of now raised its ugly head again with this Baker Webb Academy. So our boys last spring, our twins, 15-year-olds, were playing track, or running track with the Grande High School. I had gone into the office of the school. Let's see, it probably would have been, I don't know, I guess December or January or whenever it was before the actual track registration. The receptionist representative of the school said, well, here's your homeschooling form, because she recognized me and knew that we had homeschooled. And I said, well, actually, we're not homeschooling this year. We are doing what's called Baker Webb Academy, which I guess you could call it homeschooling because you're still at home.
Sure.
But it's online public education based. And she said, oh, okay. And so I paid our $300 of sports fees, filled everything out, got the insurance for them, the health insurance that they needed. And we were on our way, and they ran for the track team. No issues during the year. Of course, we support the teams. We've always, you know, tried to help with, you know, baking cakes and having the fundraisers that they do, and the auctions to sell those things to raise money for the sports teams. We've been in the concession booth, sold hot dogs, popcorn, whatever. We go to the events. We travel and follow the buses up to track meets, and we watch the kids play, and we encourage them. We thought all was well. Well, they started training for cross country this fall. And I shouldn't say fall, it's not fall yet, but this summer for this fall. And we got to this point in time, and we were about to register them. And what ended up happening was a friend of mine whose son is a freshman on the soccer team.
Mm-hmm.
She came to me and said, my son has been removed from the soccer team because he's Baker Webb Academy. And I said, whoa, if that's happening to you, that's going to happen to us. So that triggered my wife to contact this other mother, and they both went in to speak with the principal, Brett Baxter.
Sure.
And said, we have a great concern here, what's going on? She had been told that the soccer mom, that the reason he couldn't play was that if they were ever to get into a state championship, because he wasn't associated with the school, that the other school could call foul and they could lose their, you know, their position. We called OSAA. They said, no, actually, absolutely the student can play, but the discretion is left with the administration of the school.
Sure.
But they also said, we recommend that the administration of a school do what's in the best interest of the student. So we came back and said, look, that's what we're looking at here, is what's in the best interest of the student. So once we said that's not the issue, and then they said, well, the issue is that we can't track their grades, their school, their schoolwork and so forth. I contacted the principal of Baker Webb Academy, and he said, no, actually, our tracking systems are a bit superior to LeGrand's computer systems and tracking grades and so forth, and that's not a reason. Mm-hmm. So when my wife brought in that technology and those the evidence of that, the principal said, well, it's really a money issue. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now we're down to a money issue, which is, whatever happens, follow the money, right?
Sure.
So ultimately, I guess because students, if they're sitting in the actual seat in a chair, the school gets a certain amount of money from either state or federal funding. I don't know.
Stipends,
yeah, right. So we came back and just said, look, we live in LeGrand, we pay taxes, our property taxes. They had a $31 million bond pass a couple years ago. And my taxes went up based upon the property that I own, $2,000 a year. Well, my assumption is that increase is paying for the bond that's going to the school, that's helping, their organization. That's fine with me, even though I'm not getting any benefit from that. But it's nice to have the ability, in this case, what we felt was the best thing for our boys was to have one more year of Baker Webb Academy at home, but still be able to play sports. So we were all on the track this year, and I mean literally on the track. Our boys, we were all in agreement, you're going to do this for another year, and then your junior, senior year, we may put you back into Grande High School,
sure,
and everything's fine. Well, they came back and said, no, we're not going to budge on that fact. And so since then, I did contact, like I did before with the homeschooling problem that I had, state representatives, state senators, radio shows, and now you as well, the newspaper. They just did an article. And State Representative Barretto went and visited them a couple of days ago and basically told them, look, one, this doesn't bode well for you as the school, because obviously parents want what's best for their kids, and we like to have options. I'm the director of Grand Ron Academy Christian School here in town, so some people consider, well, I might want to put my kid in private school, maybe I'm going to homeschool them, maybe I'm going to send them to a,
just keep going, we're good.
Maybe I'm going to send them to a charter school, maybe I'm going to send them to a LeGrand school. But what's best for the child, I guess, is what's working best for the child. And I guess I would respect the parent's position in that. But in all of that, I would hope that as a community, because we don't have any other options when it does come to sports, except the one high school, is that we could work together. And we do pay the sports fees, as I said. We do pay our taxes. I'd heard someone say today that, well, if by you having them be on this Baker Webb Academy thing, you're sending our tax dollars to Baker County. Well, I don't control that. That is something that I write my check to the Union County Tax Assessor's office. I know it went up $2,000 since the bond passed, so I don't know who sends the money where. All we're looking at is the kids. What's in the best interest of the kids? And just one quick last thing I was just going to say is that with the sports utilization fees that we pay, I even said to the paper, if we have to pay double or triple because you feel like the public students should have more of a privilege than those that are coming from the outside, give us that option.
Sure.
And maybe I'll pay that so that they can, and also to offset costs.
So, and I mean, this may be a question you want to answer, you might, or you might not. You might want to keep this out of it, but why did you make the decision to send your children to Baker Public Webb Academy, Baker Public Webb Academy?
Well, and again, you can, I suppose, edit how you want to handle this
Sure.
answer, but because it's fairly lengthy. Our two oldest kids went to Grande High School.
Sure.
My daughter, very academic, because each person's different. Very academic, very focused, knew exactly what she wanted. She was ahead in all her classes. I'll give you an example. Her French class, she was like 150% of grade.
Wow.
She comes home and says, gee, Mom, you know, I really would like to move forward, but I can't. The teacher has to hold me back. I'm bored, and also there's so much drama socially at the
Sure.
school. Can I graduate with a GED and go to EOU, Eastern Oregon University, and just do a first year of college basically as a 17-year-old?
Sure.
And we said sure. And she did extremely well. She left EOU, went to Seattle Pacific University, graduated from there magna cum laude. She graduated with a degree in fashion merchandising, and she's now a buyer for Nordstrom's in Seattle.
Sure.
Success, that's great. My second son, he wasn't as focused as she was
Sure.
academically, and he was more distracted by social and peer pressures. And so he went into that school as a homeschool student of basically an A average, and we watched his grade every year in the Grande High School go from A to B to C to D. And by the time we were down in the C's and D's, I said, you know, I need to pull you out of here. This isn't working for you.
Sure.
And he said, Dad, respect my position, please. You know, now at this point he's like 17. He's saying, let me finish up, and you know, so forth. Well, he almost didn't graduate. I got a
Sure.
call from a teacher the day before graduation to say, he's not going to graduate.
Sure.
And I'm like, oh my goodness. And so he had a few missing projects, but he had them done, and we were able to get him in, and he did graduate. He since then has graduated from college and all as well. But he has since told me, you know, Dad, you probably should have forced me to do something different. That wasn't a good experience for me to continue to do
Sure.
in that realm. Do I blame the school? No, I just say that my daughter and my son are different.
Sure.
So when we came to our next two children, we had tried Imbler Charter School.
Sure.
And we did that for about a year, and then that wasn't working specifically for my son because he was dealing with some bullying issues. We tried to deal
sure.
with the superintendent. Great superintendent, understood. He says, gee, you know, I know we got a problem in this particular grade level, in fact. And so after he had already had my son a broken arm and he was tripped in the hall with the broken arm, I said, okay, that's it. We're coming out of here now, and we're going to try something different, back to homeschooling. And those two did the same thing as my oldest daughter. They did some homeschooling, and then they took classes at EOU,
Sure.
and since then now are both in college. These last two kids, Ben and Eli, they were being homeschooled. My wife fell ill a few years ago, 3-4 years ago, was unable to continue to homeschool them, so we had Grande High Academy. Christian school that was available because they go up to 8th grade.
Sure.
So they were 7th graders going into this, so they did 7th and 8th grade at Grande High Academy. But of course after that they now have to go figure out what's our high school option going to be. So we started with homeschooling because my wife was on the men's, but she was saying this is really getting hard now, I don't think I can keep doing this. But we didn't feel comfortable with these two boys' personalities that it would be the best thing for them to fall into a social peer pressure situation.
Sure.
And so we decided to, we found out about Baker Webb Academy and thought, gee, this is sort of a nice thing. And we signed up for it. They were very flexible, very nice. Teachers come every week and meet with them. They have online teachers. We have a principal. We have a counselor. And it's been really good. It's worked well. But the boys like to play sports. So they were able to run track and so forth at the high school until now. And so that's why we are where we are now. The boys at some point would like to go to high school. We would like them to go. We would like them to mature a little bit more. And again, this is just parents looking at their kids going, I don't know if you're ready for that
Which
yet.
is good.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
being
a good
invested in your kid and saying, what is my child ready for? What is all
Right.
those kind of things? Absolutely.
Yep.
That's
So
okay.
that's why we're saying at this point, you know, you guys do well with your Baker Webb Academy for your sophomore year. You play your sports. You do well with your coaches and the students there. Then, you know, let's take a look at your junior, senior year. Our concern a little bit now is that with all of this, you know, and my wife's going, gee, you know, now I don't know about their junior, senior year because one, we haven't been very well accepted in this situation, and by sort of being pushed out, I don't, you know, what does that mean for them, their junior, senior? I don't know. Does that mean something negative? I don't know. So.
Man, it's a lot of it's the questions of this. So I guess my last question, and we'll finish off with this question for you, is you have chosen, you know, as a parent to send your child to the Baker Webb Academy for good, very good reasons. You know, I mean, I respect you absolutely for doing that. And I think it's wonderful how much you're invested in your kids' lives and what's good for them, and I think every parent should be doing that. So the question for me, and I think maybe what is in the mind of the questions of the administrators at Grande High School, although I cannot say that this is for sure because I haven't spoken with them.
Right.
Why should your children and your twins be able to attend this public school and play, or not attend, but play sports for this public school when it's obvious that your allegiances at this point, at least during this year, lie with Baker Webb Academy, and the funding is going to them, and the sort of ultimately your heart for these boys is with Baker Webb Academy?
Well, again, it's a good question. I think that the answer to that is I don't know if I would call it so much allegiance as I would just call it a good program that's working for the boys. We don't have anything against Grande High School. In fact, if we did, obviously, why would we be sending our kids even to play sports?
Sure.
But we would like them to play sports there. But I think the quandary we're in is with what you just said. Is if they're gonna use this program that's associated with Baker, I don't know. I guess the school district is what
Sure.
they're saying. That why should they say have the privilege to play sports there, and we're not contributing somehow to the school? I beg to differ with that opinion. I think we do contribute a lot, as I've said earlier, based upon taxes and fundraisers and volunteer time and you name it from our case. But I think bigger is your homeschoolers are allowed to play sports.
Sure.
And they're not contributing anything to the school.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been homeschoolers, so we've been on that side of the fence too. But now I'd have to say, gee, so over here, we can't, but they can. When they talk about, the superintendent talks about, well, we can't track Baker Webb Academy's academic process. Well, actually, they can very well. But you tell me that they're tracking homeschoolers. That's every family is individual to how they track things. I just feel like a lot of the answers that are given back and forth are just excuses, and it does lead back to money. And I just say, let's do what's best for the student and give people some options, and let's work together as a community so that the hope would be that, some kids are going to flow to the public school, some are going to flow to the charter, some are going to flow to the private, some are going to flow to the homeschool. It's a moving, living position in our world today, especially
Sure.
when you consider the technology that we have. It's not like there's just the one school in town and that's all you got. There are a lot of options now, and we should do what's best for the individual students.
Sure.
So.
Well, thank you so much for coming and chat with me, Don.
Will, thank you.
Really awesome chatting with you, and
Yeah.
I hope that we get this all resolved.
Yep, I do too. Take care.
Thanks, LeGrand Alive. This has been Coffee with Will, brought to you by Seabright Dentistry, and we'll see you next time for more local content.